Shalom, everybody. We're going to talk a little about the portion of the week. We have a double portion this week, Acharemot and Kedoshim. Acharemot means it's talking about Yom Kippur. And then there's another interesting commandment in this week's Bible, Kedoshim Tiyu, you should be holy. What does it mean to be holy? Does it mean to sit on a mountaintop and wear sackcloth and have mildew bread and just be separated from the world? We know that's not the way of Judaism. We have to live in the world, but holy. Holy means with a purpose. It says on this week's portion, Kadesh atzmecha b'muterloch. Don't take everything that's permitted to you. Take what you need to be healthy. We spoke about this a couple of weeks ago about overeating. Don't just indulge. Live in this world, but live with a purpose to elevate the world. Okay, is this healthy? Will this help me elevate the world? Will this talk, is it gossip? Is it going to help people? How is the other person going to feel? You know, the difference between an animal and a human being, that an animal reacts, doesn't want to get hurt. A human being acts, he doesn't react. So it's very important, before we speak, we have to think, okay, what's going to come out of this? It'll get back to the people. How will they feel? We have to be holy in our speech. We have to be holy in our eating. We have to be holy in the way we have to be purposeful people. It's fascinating that we find ourselves in the days of Sfirat HaOmer. We count the Omer. They're known to be days of sorrow, because the holy sage Rabbi Akiva had 24,000 students, and they passed away in this short period. This tells us also the great resilience of Rabbi Akiva. Could you imagine Rabbi Akiva? He started Judaism at the age of 40. He then developed a following of 24,000 students. And this was after 24 years of study. That puts him in the 70s. And he loses his whole flock. And it says in the Talmud in Yevamot, the Talmud says the world was desolate, the Torah wasn't going to pass over. And Rabbi Akiva, so resilient, he got 5 students. And from those 5 students, we have the entire Talmud we have today. Had Rabbi Akiva not been resilient and teach those 5 students, we wouldn't be here today. It's amazing. It's an amazing story. They passed away because they weren't honorable to each other. It's my way or the highway. They didn't see that we're part of one people. And we have different ways of serving God. And we were created with different personalities, but all to fulfill God's purpose in creation. We can't all be the same. But they didn't have the general picture in mind. They just had themselves in mind. It's a separate discussion. But this is the portion. Be holy. It says in the passage, Lo yiseilech rochil ba'amecha. Do not speak gossip. When it says in the Bible, do not speak gossip, people like to talk about other people. What they do, what cars they drive, what yachts they have, how much they have in the bank. Don't talk about other people. That's not going to do anything for your service of God in the world. And just people could get jealous and it could cause negativity. The Holy Chafetz Chaim wrote a book about how to guard our tongue, not to speak about people. And the Rebbe said because of that, his halachic works, which is the Mishnah Brura, is widespread through the entire Jewish nation because of his care and love for each other. So don't speak gossip. Think before you speak. That refines us in the days of Sfirat HaOmer. Then the passage says, Lo isamoid al dam reyacha. Do not stand idle when your friend's blood is being spilled. Says Rashi, don't see his death and you could save him like he's drowning, or there's wild beasts or thugs hurting him. Save him. This goes with one basic, very, very, very phenomenal basic idea of the Torah that will explain the next couple of passages. I heard this from the Rebbe. The Rebbe said, if you see someone suffering, that means you could save him. Don't go under a stone and hide. Save him. You have the energy. Otherwise, why would God make you see this situation? Very powerful, very powerful talk with the Rebbe. I remember then walking on Kingston Avenue on President. And I see this big, tall guy beating another Jew. Normally I would run away, hide, and hope nobody sees me. But I remember what the Rebbe said. The Rebbe said, if you see something, that means you could help him. I said, what am I going to do with this big guy, twice my size? But the Rebbe said you could help him because else you wouldn't see this horrific scene with blood gushing from his ear. It was a horrific scene. So I said, all right. And I started screaming so loud, the guy ran away. It was a moment. But if you see someone, don't be small. You see someone who needs money to help for a surgery, make some calls and try to put the money together to help them. Don't think small of yourself. No, there's a God and He puts us in different situations to give us opportunities. It doesn't happen by itself. The next portion is, don't bear a grudge. Don't hate someone else. Rebuke them. Many times we get upset at people. They did this, they did that. You know, like to say, the psychotics build castles in their mind, and the psychologists collect the rent. We build things in our mind. When we talk to our friends, they'll right away apologize, and you'll see that nothing really took place. They love you, they made a mistake. This is how you foster friendship. You're not allowed to hate. So there's different commentaries. Learn this passage differently. Some say it's about rebuking people of doing sin, but the Maimonides and Hilchot Deot, the laws of personalities, teaches us that this passage is telling us we have an obligation to tell our friend, why did you do that? And I meet so many people that when they go to their friends and say, why did you do that? Everything is understood. Or the Maimonides says, if you realize that the whole world is not worth to get upset about stupidities, that's also okay. But if you bear a grudge, that's like pig. It's unbelievable. Then comes another mitzvah. The third passage, the third and final passage we're discussing today. Don't take revenge. Okay. Then the passage says, V'loisiter, don't bear a grudge. If you ask your friend for a favor and he says no, then he comes to you the next day and says, could you do me that favor? And you tell him, I'll do you the favor. I'm not going to be a shmegegi like you who didn't do the favor. You were bearing a grudge. That seems so difficult. We are humans. We bear grudges. The idea is like this. We have to believe that there's a God. And we have to believe that the difficulties we incur in life are from God. The people are merely emissaries. By getting, it's like a dog being upset at someone beating him with a stick. He's angry at the stick. What does the stick do? You got to realize there's a God and there's a purpose. It says in the Tanya, chapter 12, we should learn from Joseph and his brothers. He brings it from the Zohar. Joseph, a 17-year-old, they kidnapped him. They were beating him. They put him with snakes, and he took care of them like kings in Egypt. And he told them, you didn't kidnap me. You didn't sell me as a slave. God did it, so I should become the viceroy of Egypt and save the entire Jewish nation. That's the correct attitude. So this is the idea of Kedoshim in the three passages we discussed today. Don't just talk about people. If you find yourself in a situation and you hear about someone's in need, that means you could help them. Don't bear a grudge. Don't be petty. Don't get caught up in this world, in the words of the holy Rambam, that this world doesn't worth to get upset about. You're here today and gone tomorrow, and you wasted your life and energy on stupidities, on pettiness. Focus on your mission in life. And don't bear grudges. And love the entire Jewish nation. And Rabbi Akiva would say this is the foundation of the entire Torah. To not be petty. To think about God in the bigger picture. To be selfless. And to just take the high road. Don't take the low road of pettiness, but take the high road of godliness. May God help us that in these days of Sfiras HaOmer, we take these three passages that really spin a whole new way of attitude on life. And us as a nation will be united, looking at the good of each other, and looking at it from a higher viewpoint, looking at it from God's eyes, God's eyesight, sort of to say, the higher sight. And this will make us united and get us ready for receiving the Torah. It says when Jews came to Mount Sinai, they came like one man, like one person with one heart. There were no politics. We're all God's children. And this is a very, very phenomenal portion that helps us get ready for the next holiday of Shavuot, of receiving the Torah. God bless us all with unity and blessings.